Corbett.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Tom Corbett, 0 Point Development. I was in front of you guys last year with the standalone energy storage project. Back inquiring about a path forward. Back in the fall, I believe I passed along some proposed draft language that kind of covered basic design requirements and standards as your solar energy bylaw does. There's been a recent decision out of the Attorney General's office, Andrea Campbell's office, that includes energy storage standalone in Chapter 40A, Section 3. So I'm trying to see where we might be able to stand with this. Eversource is done with their end of it, so they're almost waiting for us at this point and kind of have our backs up against the wall with it, and really looking at the path forward with you guys. And early on, I had talked to Tom Quinlan about utilizing the solar bylaw, and then we had the town council comment on that and really just kind of made a disconnect of the standalone with the energy itself, or the solar itself, sorry. And with this decision from the Wendell proposed bylaw, it specifically includes standalone energy with the Chapter 40A, Section 3, in associating it to solar in the way that I've presented in the past. But I'm just here to try and figure out a path forward for the project.
This is the first I've heard of some change or amendment to Chapter 40, Section 3. Could you explain a little bit more about that, Tom?
There's really not been too much of a change to it. It's just reiterating and confirming that storage is included with the Chapter 40A part of it as a storage device to collect solar energy. And really effectively, that's what goes on with these systems. They get regulated based upon what's being injected into the lines, and each project's different realistically. So it's really dependent upon what's in the area and how these projects can operate. They go under like very strict operating agreements. So really nothing's really changed. I can pass along that decision so you guys can look at that. But she had specifically called out standalone energy as a protected use, and didn't allow Wendell to put a prohibition on it.
Oh, so that was in the context of reviewing a bylaw.
Correct, yes.
I just was wondering how the Attorney General came to involve herself in this. They don't usually give out advisory opinions.
Right. Yeah, this was as a result of submitting their, I think it was last January, or in January or June, actually, the June warrant, submitting their prohibition on it. And
so was Wendell suggesting that they could not allow a battery field to collect energy developed from a solar field?
They were proposing that standalone energy could not be built, I guess, as a use.
Okay. I mean,
yeah, send it along.
I'm not sure that we're not against battery storage per se. There's a lot of, I mean, you probably know more about, obviously know more about this than we will ever. But one of the things that I have read a lot about is how difficult a battery fire is to extinguish. And basically the only way they can put it out is to drown it.
Yeah, I can touch on that just a little bit quickly, but guidance right now, so we work very closely with a consultant out of Ohio called Energy Safety Resource Group. And what they do is they test these and they set fire to them every day. And we use them to develop our final ERP, which is an individualized ERP at the time of mechanical completion with the fire department. And right now, guidance out of their facility and guidance pretty much in the industry right now for certain chemistries. Now, each chemistry is going to be different, but for this lithium iron phosphate and where it's sourced from and how it's built is to let that energy burn out and not apply water to the system. So right now, it's really just to protect your surrounding exposures and allow that energy to burn out. Now, that could differ from chemistry to chemistry, and depending on how the 954, the UL 9540A testing comes back, as far as how much the heat propagates during a thermal runaway. But it does differ and it's hard to capture, but the UL 9540 standard and the NFPA 855 regulates that really as the industry, not really on a planning level, but it's regulated in the codes themselves that we have to follow as a system operator.
So you're
So-
gonna have far enough separation between storage units so that one doesn't catch the other on fire.
Yeah, and those standards again too are different across chemistries, and it really comes down to that heat propagate, the fire propagation testing, as to how you can set the system up. So that's manufacturer by manufacturer, really, system specific scenarios,
Okay.
which is the difficult part for you guys on your job, right?
I
Well-
do remember that Mike Spanknable looked at that in connection with one of the ones over by by Hampshire Mall, where they were adding batteries as a supplement to the existing field. And he seemed at the time to feel that they finally had a handle on how to deal with these things. And it was not the unknowns that had affected the first fire situations.
And that's been my discussion as well with him in the past. As far as response, he seems to be privy on that where that industry is. There's a lot of workshops out there and a lot of guidance, or not really guidance, but the discussions in the fire department and chiefs unions and stuff. There's a lot of from Fire Protection Agency of Massachusetts does a lot of seminar kind of things for chiefs throughout the Commonwealth. And that's been a topic of discussion of approach. And the real important aspect of that is like that development of the ERP and the boots on the ground, and making sure that that's part of a requirement of the applicant to actually work with the fire department and do guidance upon completion. So the whole system, once it's done, has to go through a UL 9540 test certification. So the system as a whole has to be certified through UL. So that's kind of part of that process for us.
Thank you.
Ken Comia had just written us today about what we'd like him to work on, but I know he was working on a regional model. I don't know how it's going, so I'll try to reach out to him tomorrow just to raise this as something we're interested in
Yeah.
following.
Definitely.
Good idea.
Yeah, and I been keeping in touch with Ken a little bit about that, and he had just mentioned a couple weeks ago maybe that he's working for the three towns, I forget exactly who they were, on producing guidance. And I think he said that funding runs out in like the middle of the year here, and he's pretty close with guidance from the last time I spoke with him. But yeah, definitely he would have some insight.
Tommy has a question.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say, I have two other municipalities waiting to see your very well-respected planning board, and I just talked one night last week with another community that the chair of their planning board, because it's not connected with the solar array, waiting to see what Hadley does with this. So there's two that are waiting that, your opinion on it that I know of. So through me. So just a heads up, they haven't made a decision either.
Okay.
Well, Amherst made a decision, didn't they, though? Aren't they gonna put one in up there off of 116? No?
I
The
don't know.
116 is in Sunderland. They have one that doesn't have the battery yet, but there is a solar field there. So I'm not
Oh,
sure on
okay.
that one.
Oh, that's the one right over the Amherst Sunderland line. That's just so right now, that's just solar only.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
I-
a few,
Every
there's a
Monday I
few
see it.
towns. There's a
It's the
few
one right next
towns.
to Bub's.
There's quite a bit of
Okay.
guidance, well, not necessarily guidance, but I guess cases to point to and to look at for other towns that have created bylaws in the recent year, since really the last time that we spoke, this stuff was all past like fall time. So like town of Oxford, Lancaster, Hubbardston, there's Athol. There's quite a few examples out there at this point that could make things comfortable, I guess. And from what I'm seeing, it's really just almost an adoption of the solar guidelines.
But our zoning would have to meet the requirements, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we would have to,
Yeah,
probably make an amendment to the solar bylaw to allow it.
but I thought we were talking about putting it in the industrial zone.
Well, wherever we would allow,
Yeah,
solar, I would think we would probably allow battery.
including somebody's backyard.
Well, right now, if you put a solar system on your house, you
Yeah,
could put, in fact, ask Tom about the new building code with solar.
okay.
So any of your residential, of course, a lot smaller of a battery, Mike and I, Chief and I will go out to every project, do a site visit of the location, and then we do a final together before it's, a
Okay,
letter of completion's issued, but Mike is very familiar with the big storage. Like, we had both actually gone into this gravel pit. Tom, it's got to be a year and a half ago now, right? And
Yeah.
did a site visit on this one as well.
Yeah.
I
Under
think
the-
it's kind of
under
the
the
connection
new-
with the actual solar field and battery standalone.
Under the new building code, Mr. Sars, you have to wire your house for solar panels and solar battery, whether you're going to use it or not, when you build a house.
are you serious?
I'm serious. Ask Mike. Ask Tom, I mean. You're muted,
Tommy,
Tom.
you're muted.
You're muted, Tom. There we
Sorry,
go.
so you actually, energy code that took effect residential only right now. You have to run within 6 feet of your parking area and a dedicated circuit for electric car charger. You have to, prepare, which means conduit. I think it's 2 feet out of the roof now for solar future. And they're trying to, but we've talked to the state plumbing inspector, trying to make no penetrations on the southerly side of the roof. But the plumbing code, we can't enforce the plumbing code. So that's something, as far as vents, we can't enforce. But there's the new energy code is gone quite far.
Mr. Corbett, I came in late. Was this, I heard you mention iron phosphate. Is that the new trend?
So lithium iron phosphate is a trending chemistry for the industry for sure. Overseas is pretty much predominantly only thing that they use. We are starting to make that transition here. We're a little slower at it, as really it's just about the purchase of batteries, and historically the nickel, manganese, cobalt have been cheaper. But the reliability, the safety, it's a little bit less power dense, but the reliability and the safety is where the industry is going. And that's where lithium iron phosphate really comes in. And you're seeing a lot of, well, actually most of everything in the future now here is a liquid cooled system, not an air cooled system, which again kind of goes hand in hand with the chemistry, and being able to keep that stable and dissipate heat.
You say liquid, you mean glycol?
Most all manufacturers are using an ethylene glycol mixture. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that the EVs are starting to change over to the lithium iron phosphate from just the lithium iron, lithium ion. And they said that they charge and discharge more easily, but yeah, it takes more cells to get the same amperage.
Yeah, a little bit more expensive, but the long run is that the reliability of the product. Overseas, the only chemistry that they use in cars is lithium iron phosphate. So that's going to be coming here as the recycling industry amps up, and we'll have actual raw materials here in the States to make batteries.
Well, it doesn't cost too much to tool your house or retrofit your house so you can put solar charging in, does it or not? Or the cost is, it is, whether
That
you
I'm
do
not
it.
sure of as a residential side of it.
I can't imagine the cost is putting the panels and not being able to plug the panels into whatever you're plugging it into. I would think, right, Tom?
Yes, yeah, prior to the 2018, you actually had to have solar ready as far as the trusses or roof, system had to be upgraded. So
Yeah,
now it's more the charging station, the ERV, the other requirements electrical wise is probably $8,000 a new home added.
pretty, well, that's significant.
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll touch base with Ken, and if you would send us that Wendell decision, I'll share it with the rest of the board.
I will definitely do that for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
It sounds like a plan.
All right. Oh, thank you.
Okay,
And-
well, thank you guys. I will keep in touch. I'll probably be on the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Next up is Tim Armstrong, and I think Mr. Konechny is with him.
Good evening, Hadley Planning Board. I had emailed over a PDF of a proposed subdivision for the Carl's gravel pit. I wanted to review some potential options with the board as a sketch plan to see what will be required from us.
Okay, let me enable screen sharing and you can put something up.
All right, let me find our plan.
Okay,
All right,
good.
all right, let me get our plan going here. There it is. So we are looking to propose a 2-lot subdivision coming off of Breckenridge Road to have 1 lot in the front abutting Breckenridge, but with frontage on the existing gravel access drive. And then 1 lot in the rear for the remaining area of the Carl's property. The goal is to create this 1 lot in the front for now, and we would like to do that with minimal, road construction, since this 1 lot can be accessed through a driveway best right near the front. So we would like to keep it with no road, basically to create this 1 lot and have the rest of the land be as is for now.
How will you access, if the second lot is finally put in, how are you going to access the back parcel?
So there
Is that
is
gonna be
currently on this proposed road, a gravel access road into the rear of the property.
Oh, so you just give them a right of way through the property?
Yeah, essentially we're looking for right away to put in essentially the second lot up front here.
But I mean, the lot out, all the remaining land, you're just gonna put a right of way straight through the property?
No, we're gonna put one. So we're here on the plan, it's got a proposed road that comes in enough for frontage on the front lot and then cuts across to provide frontage for the rear lot. And so as it is laid out currently, it is limited to these 2 lots.
I understand that.
Okay,
I'm talking about the remaining, how many acres are out back? 4 point something acres.
Yep.
How are you going to access that?
through the existing gravel drive for this lot. Like there's no.
So
The
you're gonna give-
4.5 acres
gonna-
here will be part of will be lot 2.
So you're gonna give the remaining 4.5 something acres a right of way through the back lot.
No, it's part of the back lot,
It's
Jim.
part of the back lot, yeah.
He's not planning to further.
That's all gonna be
subdivide.
one big lot back there. It's not gonna be separated out.
Yeah, it looks like there's a house lot
Right.
Yeah.
carved out there.
So the back lot just gonna be a 4.5 acre house lot.
Yeah, this is a separate lot for the pit, and then the pit is back here, and we are not proposing to make more lots back here. Just 2 lots up front, and mostly just wanted to get a feeling from the board on, what might be required beyond just creating the lots in terms of subdivision approval for this process.
So almost every other very small subdivision where we waive all the subdivision rules, the town gets something out of it. Be it land that won't be used, land that won't be built on, some kind of a permanent conservation easement, whatever it might be. Are you proposing anything like that on this parcel?
I have not currently, and that is a thing I will have to discuss with our client.
Okay.
Of what,
Well, what's the magnitude of something like this, Jim? How much?
What do you mean? What's the magnitude?
Well, he's gonna talk to his client, but he doesn't know what the magnitude of what he's giving the town is. Is it something worth 5,000 or 50,000?
I don't understand the question, Mike.
You say every time something like we waive the subdivision requirements, the town gets something out of it. What does the town have to get out of it dollar-wise relative to what this?
There is no money involved.
There's no tangible.
It's just that something is preserved, something is not going to be built on, some kind of an easement. Okay. The town is never, to my knowledge, ever looking for dollars or looking for
Okay.
like some kind of a protection for the land.
Gotcha.
And it could be as simple as let's say the house takes up an acre, for ballpark speaking. Out of the 4.5 acres, the house would be on 1 acre. So the remaining, say, 3.5 acres would simply get some kind of a restriction that would guarantee that it would never be built on.
Uh-huh.
And the owner still owns everything.
Got
They
it.
can do what they want with it, just that they can't build anything on it. Another house.
Is this, what's the frontage on the front lot? Is this aquifer protection?
this was not aquifer protection, I believe. I had it as ag residential when I looked it up. So it currently has 180 feet on the proposed road. There's not enough frontage on Breckenridge to create this lot without having a subdivision road. So I guess assuming we can have a restriction area, is that then the board would essentially waive all the other construction requirements on the road for things like curbing and all the multiple pavement base layers, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
What
I mean,
about, excuse me, go ahead.
you need to provide all the proper distances. Let's put it like that for the
Right.
road, for the frontage and everything. None of we can't waive any of that.
Absolutely.
What we can waive is the construction requirements of the road.
Meet town standards.
Depending on, you're gonna put a driveway in that will support our fire trucks. You're gonna put a turning radius in, like at this, you got your corner here. You're gonna
Yep.
make sure the fire department, there's enough of a turning radius for the fire truck to turn there. And doesn't stay within whatever driveway is gonna be there. You know, some basic things like that. Drainage. If you want, I mean, I'm assuming you're probably gonna put in something like a 15-foot, 20-foot wide driveway. It can be gravel. It does not have to be paved.
Okay.
It's gonna have it, like I said, it's gonna be able to support a fire truck, an emergency vehicle, 365 days of the year. And obviously it will permanently remain under the ownership of these two building lots.
Mm-hmm.
They're responsible for, plowing it, maintenance, whatever might be required. Water lines are simply whatever is needed for the house. Don't need to put in well, I take that back. If you build a mansion, you may have to sprinkler. So I don't want to say you can't put in a small water line, but that's all got to do with whatever is required for the houses. But typically, you don't have to put I wouldn't think this is long enough that you would need to put in a fire hydrant there.
Okay,
But the fire department would let you know that.
okay.
So-
Yeah, curbing and everything else, you're right. You don't need to put curbing in, stuff like that.
Oh, Tim, I did just take a look at the Hadley zoning map, which has the overlay districts on it. You definitely are in the aquifer protection overlay district.
Okay.
Okay. So you need 200 feet of frontage and 40,000 square foot lots.
All right,
by the
great.
looks
No,
of
we
things-
could kick that back to 200 real easy. And there's certainly plenty for the second lot at 230 already.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
That
so
can-
you will have, I mean, you make it, you're gonna make the first section of the road a little longer.
that's not a
20 feet
problem.
longer,
And the second lot, you go, what, 230 feet, that looks
Yeah.
like?
That's 230 right now.
So,
But you're saying that what you're labeling as the proposed road on your plan is actually the roadway into the gravel pit.
There is an existing access there, yes.
Okay, so that's probably pretty much all weather.
yeah.
Yeah, we would probably need to make sure we have the fire truck clearance.
Do you have
Um,
enough frontage on lot one? I mean, I see the 150 by 150 box.
Yep.
So,
under this plan, they do not have they've only got 180 feet of frontage also. They're gonna make that road 20 feet longer.
no, but the frontage on Breckenridge.
There's not enough frontage on Breckenridge to have a separate lot on this property right now. And that's partially why we're looking to do the subdivision, is because there's not enough frontage to A&R out at that front lot.
That's a different story.
Why? Lot one will have frontage on the new road.
I'm not, have we ever done something like that before?
Yes.
You don't need frontage on a
We
public.
need, look, according to subdivision law, Joe, we need to create two lots to make a subdivision. They're creating two lots on a very small subdivision. We have done very small subdivisions with two lots, more than a couple of times.
But usually one of the lots is on a designated way. They're making their own driveway. It's,
Yeah, but it still meets zoning.
And Joe, his driveway is not gonna be on Breckenridge. It's gonna be on the proposed, you know,
I see that. But usually when we do a very small subdivision, I don't recall that, well, maybe there have been some. Hawks Meadow Road is one, I think.
Yeah, we've created two lots on the very small subdivision before.
Yes, yeah, okay, I guess we have.
Yeah. So. Okay, any other questions, Mr. Armstrong?
No, I think that gives us, I was looking for direction on where we needed to go from here, and I think that answers my questions for now.
Okay,
And if I have more, I will follow up with an improved plan.
Is
Or
this
we'll-
the same parcel where the batteries and storages are proposed?
yes, this is Plan B, I think.
So
It's not, they're not the same plan.
So Tim, could you just give us the whole portion? I know you're just focusing on a.
Yeah,
So where is the gravel pit itself?
the gravel pit itself is up here off the page. The Carl's actually owns two separate parcels here. And so there's this front parcel and then a rear parcel with no frontage on it.
so
So-
if the battery storage were to go through, where was the battery storage is in the rear portion,
Was, I believe is back here somewhere.
and
I
you
have
would
not been involved
access the
in.
you would access the battery storage through your new gravel driveway?
Yeah, through the drive.
Okay,
With an easement on the back lot, right?
Well, presumably Carl's owns this, so they can, yeah, give them an easement or, do what they want with it. So I assume if they put a battery storage in, they would need to have easements for access anyways. So,
okay.
all right. I think that gives me good direction and some things to talk about with the client, and we will I think be in touch with either more questions or full application.
We're here
Great.
first and third Tuesdays.
Thank you for your time.
Just double check. We do not know for sure that we will be able to continue meeting via Zoom after March 30th.
Okay.
There is something has passed the state house to continue it to March 30th of 2025, but that has not passed the Senate, nor does it have the governor's signature yet.
Okay.
So
At least
just,
close, I can show up.
just follow the agendas to see what we're doing.
All right. Sounds great. Thank
Thank
you
you.
all.
Okay.
Stop share.
All right.
Okay.
Um,
So
you said you had a continuation for request for Hadley, Bill?
yeah, yes, Tom Reedy did request continuation to our next meeting.
Okay,
So I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing on Hadleaf to April 4.
Okay, I would second that.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye.
I,
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Let's see, what else have we got?
Is going on Hadley, Bill, are they coming up on their time period, or they're not in a crunch to get their renewal?
Well, the renewal period is January and February, but they filed their application in January, and I don't see that as a problem. We're continuing it with their consent, and that is a town requirement, not a state requirement. So
Okay.
I think we're good. If you want to talk about zoning for a second, I did get bogged down mentally on the I was going to look at just doing a simple amendment to the table of uses to allow food trucks. But then obviously the devil's in the detail, and there are two categories of food truck uses, I think. One is the one-shot food truck that pulls up, or maybe you hire it to for your grand opening. And then there are the ones like the Asparagus Festival, where there is a cluster of them, but only for one day. So I was thinking, just as a working theory, maybe allowing food trucks for zoning purposes in business districts, meaning business, industrial, local business, and limited business, with just approval through the building inspector and the Board of Health. But for food trucks in agricultural residential districts, that might require a special permit.
Now, can the zone bylaw reference a general bylaw for the definition, Bill?
I think it can.
Okay,
I think we can put it in so if we create a category of food trucks in the table of uses, we also have to create a definitions section, something in the definitions for what food trucks are.
Right.
And maybe we can have something in there that will differentiate between one food truck versus a cluster of them for one day.
Right.
And then there's the temporary food trucks versus the semi-permanent food trucks. So you got multiple categories, but most of well, I shouldn't say that. There's also that stipulation and state board of health rules. If it is a temporary food truck, they can get away with a porta potty. If it is a permanent food truck or semi-permanent food truck, depending on how you want to call it, they need to have a working restroom with running water within it's either 100 or 150 feet of the food truck.
Oh, really?
And that's basically about having the employees able to properly relieve themselves and wash their hands. And when we asked the Board of Health inspector, what does temporary versus permanent mean? Well, if it's there for a weekend, that's temporary. If it's there for like, let's say the summer or a month or two, that's considered permanent. So,
We know if Amherst does that with the one that's on that parks in a parking space on Main Street? Do they
I
have?
have no idea about the town of Amherst.
Okay.
We're just working, obviously, I'm not trying to put you off, Mark, but
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
We're looking to utilize definitions of the food trucks and the related, I don't want to say uses, but the times, and put that into the general bylaw, because a food truck requires building inspector approval, Board of Health inspector approval. Most of them require fire department approval because they have a propane tank. Some of them have more than a little 20-pound tank. If they have a larger tank, they even fall into a different category under NFPA. So there's a lot of NFPA rules involved if they do any kind of onboard heating with propane or cooking. Then they got to have, for example, if they're cooking hot dogs or hamburgers and they have a grill, now they got to have an ANSEL system. It's another fire protection system. So it gets pretty complicated. And some fire trucks, not fire trucks, some food trucks don't have that. And then you have somebody said that sets up a tent and does cooking. That has to be addressed as part of the food truck issue as well. So the food truck issue is a fairly encompassing endeavor to define them all. And I've seen one definition is probably half a page because it includes all of these things. So it's like you said, Bill, the devil's in the details. If we get to the details on this one, they can be pretty overwhelming.
Yeah,
I think your idea is a good one. Put it into the plan, put it into the zone bylaw where it's allowed either by right or by special permit or some kind of a review. And then in the general bylaw, we'll put something in of the extreme details on how they must be inspected and, if you would, overseen by the various boards.
Jim, you bring up a point of some interest. First of all, they can be anything. I've go down to LSU once in a while to football games, and they have these grills that are 15 feet long. One section is ribs, one section is steaks, one section is hot dogs and hamburgers, and it's pulled by a pickup, and there's a lot of them. And now, will UMass be exempt from the Board of Health rules? Will the Dover Amendment give them that kind of carte blanche?
Don't have an answer to that.
Now, it's not Dover Amendment with UMass, it's state.
I would say not, for the simple reason that it's not the school isn't doing this. These are private individuals. And I don't believe this is going to be pertinent to private individuals doing this for grilling purposes, like on tailgating. First of all, the UMass doesn't allow tailgating, if I'm correct.
Depends on what year.
I don't believe they allow tailgating at the UMass Stadium, which is one of the reasons that
Nobody goes to the game.
Great. That's part of the fun of going to a college game is tailgating, but that's beside the point.
Hadley.
And it's not to go after it's also not to go after the homeowners having a grill in his backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom.
Mr. Zgranik, that would be more, personal. They're not charging. Basically, at the tailgate parties, they're not charging, so that would be exempt, correct? I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of how all those are.
Yeah, we're not trying to go after those guys. We'd probably be hung if we proposed something like that.
Well, I don't know. I could see Tom having a real empire if we decided to license every Weber grill. You'd probably have 30 inspectors on staff.
Yeah. Good
So,
point, Bill.
yeah, you work on the zoning bylaw, Bill. I will be working on something for the general bylaw, and we'll try to see how we get together on that one, okay?
Okay. And I
That
think
sounds-
probably,
You've got a good idea.
yeah, I think probably the definition section is going to be where we link the two of them together.
Yeah. Yeah, Tom?
So maybe Mr. Dwyer, we're supposed to meet with Ben, all of us. Would that be a good idea if Mr. Dwyer was involved in it as well?
That'd probably be good, yeah. Yeah, 'cause that way he can get a better flavor of everything of what we're really talking about. I mean, we've been exposed to our bylaw meeting, what this food trucks really involves, and it's pretty lengthy. When you get into some details, you got enough said. And I think Bill needs to hear about it too, so that he knows where we're coming from. The whole thing is coming from.
The nice thing about food trucks is that the cost of capital entry is pretty low. So it's kind of tuned to younger or entrepreneurs, not of means. I mean, I've had some of my, just a little editorial comment, as Dr. Zagranik said, I've had some pretty good food at food trucks. But it's allowing the entrepreneur, the younger or the entrepreneur of lesser means, as long as they fit the bill, to get started in life.
Nobody's against letting the entrepreneur get started. I mean, I've had some mighty tasty food off of food trucks.
Yeah.
I've also had some not so tasty, but yeah, they're especially when you get into like Joe said, some of the ribs and stuff. There's some they do some good jobs.
Very good.
Okay. What else have we got, Mr. Dwyer?
I don't have anything else. I don't know if you have any bills for us.
Yeah, I got our quarterly payroll of 500. I'll make a motion to approve $575 for the planning board payroll for the first 3 months of 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous. You have anything, Mr. Quinlan? No? The case most of the planning board hasn't heard, there is a festival being planned for the Young Men's Club for April 20 and 21. I think that's the dates. Starting Friday afternoon and ending Sunday afternoon. And it's not Sunday afternoon?
It's Friday, I believe, at 11 or 12 noon time, and then Saturday, and it ends by 11 o'clock Saturday night.
Okay, so it's in Saturday night. And there is lots of concern about this because they're advertising for this festival all the way down into the Maryland, not Carolina, but the Maryland, Jersey area. And I don't know how far out west it's going. And they're saying they only expect up to a couple thousand people. It is the same group that had the Northampton Pot Festival that showed up with more than 2,000 or 3,000 people. So, the Board of Selectmen and the Fire Chief and various town boards are very concerned. They've had a meeting today, I know, with the proposed, or not with the proposed, the organizers. They're trying to get something going with the Young Men's Club to get more details and stuff out of it. And there's nothing the planning board needs to do or get involved in. It's just a matter of information.
What kind of a festival? It's not orthodontists, is it? They're the worst.
Most people will come.
I guess they could use the pot to see if it'll deaden the effect of the orthodontist, but I don't know.
So that was the one that originally developed as extravaganza on
Oh,
the Amerstown Common. And then it went to the Three County Fairground for a few years. And then it went somewhere else too, I think. Did it go to Greenfield for a while?
Yeah.
And
okay.
and now it's going to come back to its roots in Hadley. The kind of thing that we might well get questions about. So just know that it is being looked at.
Yes.
Mark, you
It's not
mentioned
gonna have a food truck?
the Orthodontic Festival. And I won't be able to attend this extravaganza because I'll be in Chicago at an orthodontic festival meeting at the McCormick Center.
Keep your pants on.
5,000 orthodontists will show up all over the world.
No lampshades. Okay.
He didn't say that.
Anybody else have anything? No? Okay,
So as I said, stay tuned. And Jim, maybe you and I should talk about having a backup location in case we have to meet in person. The last time, last year when this, the Zoom was renewed, the actual renewal didn't happen until something like March 29th.
yeah, it was almost the day before.
Yeah. Because it is not a freestanding bill. It is part of the supplemental budget. It's an outside section of the budget, so we're not going to get it bogged down on its own, but the budget may get bogged down.
Yeah, if
So-
if we have to meet in person, it'll either be in the library meeting room or probably the one of the rooms in the senior center, whichever one will be available. We'll have to wait and see. They're both set up for the combination meetings, hybrid meetings. If that's how we go. So,
Can we address the zoning board of appeals decision from last night, or is that because it's not listed, we shouldn't talk about it?
I think we probably should, some of the agendas have matters not foreseen 48 hours in advance. If you wanted to suggest it as a future discussion topic, I can certainly put something up.
yeah,
I'm just curious, what are the options now? Probably not anything to do with us, so.
No, there is an appeal route. I don't happen to know what it is. Since it was under 40B and not under 40A, it's not the same appeal from a decision of a planning board or a zoning board under chapter 40A, which would go directly to the courts. I believe this appeal goes to the Executive Office of Housing and Community Development. They have a
EOCD.
the same appeal as if it were a denial of an unfriendly 40B. Although I'm not sure, I've never had a reason to look it up. And town council represented that they're very familiar with the process, so I would defer to them. But I believe there is an appellate route. And I know I have seen, after it goes through the administrative appeal, from there you can go to take it to court for a judicial appeal from the agency decision. So all of that can be a lengthy process,
Hmm.
or not. It could move relatively quickly. I don't know how quickly the agency moves.
We'll have to just stay tuned and see what happens.
We're along for the ride.
Yeah, we are more or less a observation group. Anything else?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for attending. Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Alex. Good night. Have a good
I'm gonna
one.
pass on Joe, Zeke.
Pardon, Mike?
I'm gonna pass on Joe's tonight.
Okay.
Okay, say hi to everybody over there. All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Recording stopped.